but I want to talk about this podcast. So let's.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Any
do
other
you.
thoughts before?
No,
Um,
go ahead. You
could
cook.
could have
No, no,
stood
no. I'm
could
just.
have stood some editing. Editing for time.
Hey,
That's
listen,
all.
I walked away impressed. I'm like, yo, bro, you just straight talk for 57 straight
You
minutes.
know what
Like
I'm saying?
that's impressive. To the face, I don't know. That's equivalent to taking a 40 to the head to me. Like,
Wow.
I
I got to 32 minutes and I went, whoo, 18 more to go.
man, I stopped and did something else and came back later in the evening.
He's still talking.
I was like, that's
and
impressive, man.
the thing was where it was the pauses kept making me think that something froze on my phone or that I had to like that it stopped playing. I was like, wait, is he still? Oh no, he's still going. Okay, my bad. I was like, oh, I think there's something to be said about the one-on-one podcast because that is always a difficult listen unless someone's speaking straight through. But when it's just like literally flow of thoughts and you are pausing to gather your thoughts, it can be kind of like, oh, what is happening? Am I still here? Okay, cool. We're still here. Cool. I think that I'd love for him to get a host with him to kind of allow him to bounce ideas off of. But that's just a logistics thought. Anyways, on the podcast, I feel like I have so many thoughts. I'm going to start with regardless of how you feel about it, I appreciate Draymond giving the public this because at the end of the day, the public he doesn't owe us this, right? He
That's
doesn't
right.
owe the peek behind the curtain, as he mentioned. He doesn't have to give us what his process was. He doesn't have to share the conversations he had, give us the insights on how his kids impacted him. Like, he doesn't owe us any of this. And so, him offering that information up, especially when we've seen other athletes this year go through incredibly public incidences off court, right? Uh, I won't name them, but involving some
Right.
women, some
Yeah,
involving
yeah.
guns, some involving,
Right.
whatever. No one's given us that insight as to what they're thinking, how they're going through. So I do commend Draymond for offering that. I also think that the message of what he was saying in terms of like the growth and changing his perspective on certain things and things like that is like, I imagined what would it be like if his son watched this years from now. And I think that overall it was a positive message, right? And I particularly think about if there's young, particularly black men in Saginaw, Michigan, let's say they don't know anything about Draymond Green, right? And they don't know anything about his history or anything. And they just listen to the message of what it means like to look at help in a different way, what it means like to take the process seriously. I think that there was a lot of great messages in that mix. Now, the thing I think that's hard is we aren't those hypothetical students that have never or young men that have never known the history of Draymond. We do know the history of Draymond. And so now it's kind of like you listen to all this and you're just kind of like, okay, we'll see. We'll see. Um, but it's from what I gathered, it seems like he took this very seriously. The podcast was a little melodramatic, a little for me, but for
A
the most
bit.
part, I thought the message overall was good.
No, I agree with you, Zena. I mean, I the fact that he you know, was willing to do that. He didn't have to. He owes the public nothing in
At
terms of an
all.
explanation.
Right.
Um, was commendable. I just, you know, and your point about him being willing to say I need help and doing that in a public way. Um, I'm not sure I quite believe he was ready to retire, and Adam Silver talked him out of it. But maybe could be.
I
I
complete
could be.
yeah. Yeah.
I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be cynical.
I don't want this remaining 75 million. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I don't
And
need
that's
it.
the part that I'm kind of like the melodramatic of like
Yeah.
the build, I feel like certain things, I don't know if they were embellished or built up or whatever. That is a little bit like, wait, you were going to be suspended and you were about to walk away from this much
Right.
money. What? That
Right.
feels like a little much, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, you know what it felt like? You know what it felt like if you've ever been in an argument with a significant other? It's
Mm.
felt like when that person be like, "Man, we should just leave, we should just split up or we should just leave." And you really don't want to. You're just
Right.
saying that
Absolutely
just
not.
so the other
Right.
person could be like, "No, we don't."
No,
Right.
please, no, don't
I'll be
do
like,
it.
"You know what? I'm leaving this. We're out of here. I'm leaving." Hoping just
That's
hoping with
exactly
all hope
right.
you'd be like, "No, don't leave." Like, whoo, that was close.
That's funny.
That's what it felt
And
like to me.
you say it with like your eyes going back and
You
forth,
know
like,
what
are
I'm
you,
saying?
what they about to respond? What are they say? That's hilarious.
That's
It
true.
also makes me think of every time my mom, if I don't call her every day, you guys gonna miss me when I'm gone. Okay, mom, we do not have to be so dramatic. Like we don't have to go to those lengths. Oh
I
goodness.
Well,
do
Anyways,
think
right.
yeah,
so. Look,
that's a great point.
here's my point on this. Like, I'm with you. He didn't have to do this, but I also I don't like this. I don't like this idea that this dude can be like wild as a basketball player and a little bit, and occasionally out of control, right? And
Mhm.
somehow that equates to him being a bad person. This sounds like somebody who is explaining, like, I'm no longer going to be a bad person. Like, no, this is somebody's father. This is
Right,
somebody's
right,
husband. Like, why
right.
is he having to go on here and give a mea culpa about his career when
Yeah.
the actual things that really matter in life, he's probably doing pretty good at.
Right,
Like,
right, right,
Mhm.
you know what I'm
right,
saying? That's the
right.
part that's a little bit like, oh, and like, he's playing into it a bit, right? He's doing part of the dance, but part of that is because he was getting destroyed. Like, people are
Yeah.
talking about he should never work again. He should go
Right,
to
right.
jail. Like, that's what happens when you do this type of stuff, right? So on one hand, I'm like, look, Draymond, do whatever you want to do. If you want to become a better person, that's
Yeah.
fine. Like, go ahead. Like, obviously, I think you should start on January 1, but whatever, do it whatever
I
you
can't
want
stand
to.
you. I
Right?
can't stand you.
So if he just want to be a better person, then be a better person. If he knows what he needs to be, but this idea, like, we now have to monitor his development and growth, like he's some kind of like, yo, it's dudes beating up women in the NBA. Like,
Yeah,
why are we
Yeah.
talking like Draymond is one of those people? Like,
right.
when he
It's
stole
a
on
great
Jordan
point.
Poole, that was the time where it was like, bro, what are you doing?
That
But like,
was, yeah.
yeah,
Like,
but
just
like the
something.
rest of this stuff is just like, yo, go ask Kermit. Like, I literally watched Charles Barkley hold Larry Bird while Dr. J fired two pieces on him. Like, like that's like part of this is a little bit like, come on, man. All right, Draymond,
Right.
calm down. Take your
Right.
suspension. You got your 12 games. Like, if they had suspended him 12 games and he'd have come back and that'd have been it, like, all right, that's it. That's the sport. You did your wrong. You do your time. That's it. This idea that now he has to like qualify himself. Like, we don't know what kind of husband he is. We don't know what kind of father he is. We don't know how he treat people. We don't know the whole. We're judging this human being based off that he's out of control sometimes on the basketball court. He needs help, and I'm like, man, we can really start uncovering some stuff. Da, come on, you know who needs help.
No, I know. And Dennis Rodman never had a podcast where he like explained his life to people. Like, and Dennis Rodman had a way worse upbringing than Draymond Green. I'll just put it that way. Like way worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah. I mean, but Marcus, you know what? And you say this, you sound like I sound like I'm 1,000 years old, and I don't mean it to come off that way. I just think people today, not just athletes, just people, live their lives very differently in the public eye than people used to. You know, they just do. They feel like, and I come back to this over and over and over again, why they care so much what somebody on a morning talk show says about them. I just do not understand. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's an opinion. It's an opinion that has no greater weight than your barber's opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. It's the barbershop on TV. That's what it is.
I'll say this to that point, and I agree with you. It is silly that the level of weight that people put on opinions of people that don't matter, people that are basically keyboard warriors that say whatever the hell they want behind a computer screen. But I will say that in this age of personal branding and the capitalization of personal branding,
Yeah.
when you have these sorts of pundits that have this level of following or this level of influence talking about you in a negative way, it can impact your money. It can impact the types of deals that you get signed, the types of opportunities that you get. So I get that part, and that's why I wanted to also say to your point, Marcus, because I agree with you. It's like it's ridiculous that I'm literally reading people on X say, "Oh, he's unhinged. He's a psychopath. He's like dangerous, dangerous labels to be talking about someone that's just like that has antics on a basketball court, right? Like they're talking about people's mental health, like, and they're labeling that sort of behavior to legitimate like mental health issues that people have. And it's reckless. But I feel like the reason why Draymond felt like he had to do his mea culpa, one, I'm sure he felt I the number one thing I saw that made me feel like he felt like he needed to do it was the Steph Curry apology, which I want to get to
Yeah.
in a second. But I also think that he needed to do a mea culpa in a way for his branding because we now know with these athletes, they are universes of branding. It's not only just them with the brands that they have, they're partners, right? He talked about Hazel and the Hazel Renee and the part like if she
Right.
wants to do work or whatever it is and work with a family brand or do act. I know she's an actress, like do act like that sort of stuff can impact her as well. Think about his kids, like the fact that they go to school, all I feel like that's the reason why he felt like he had to do that. And because we live in this age of everything is public and everyone feels like they have, to answer to the public court of opinion. That's why we're here. But that's one point. The other thing I'll say is the only thing that I felt like, thank you, Draymond, for doing this. And this was the thing that I was like, okay, I can see why this was needed, was the public apology to Steph. Because I appreciated his point that because of his behavior, Steph was now getting the backlash that he didn't necessarily deserve. And because it happened publicly, he wanted to apologize publicly. I thought that that was a very thoughtful thing to do